Hello. In the last unit, we talked about how to improve your voice, and you had our guest speaker Shubhangi give you some tips on how to improve your voice. Today, we move on to delivery, how to improve your delivery, and in this, again, we'll demonstrate to you through actual examples how you can improve your delivery. We begin, when we talk about delivery, we talk about phonetics, and we don't need to take you through phonetics once again because we've had one entire week of practice of phonetics. I hope you've been able to try out these activities which we will be posting for you and improve your pronunciation of English, because pronunciation is very important. The second part was articulation, and yesterday Shubhangi demonstrated it beautifully, how you can improve your articulation. Today, in this unit, we move on to variation of pace, volume and pitch, use of pause, avoidance of non-words, control of rhythm and intonation. These are some of the things we'll be doing in this unit. We will skip these because we'll upload these for you on the activities sheet for you to try out, but we will demonstrate what is duration and how does one use duration to get the maximum impact. Duration refers to the amount of time you take to say a word. You can change the meaning and importance of words by saying them quickly or drawing them out. Now we will try this while you read the following poem.
Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake.
You found how she lingered lovingly on each sound, how she used duration perfectly to bring out the meaning of each word, the key words. She held out on those key words to get the full impact. And remember that you can do that if you pronounce the sounds right, pronounce the diphthongs right. Where the mind, so the diphthong mind, look at the way she lingered on mind. Now if you say where the mind is without fear, you would not get the impact. So what I'm saying is you need to combine pronunciation, the right pronunciation, with the use of duration in order to get the impact in diphthongs such as mine, without, fear, high, free, fragments, domestic. So you saw how she used each of these sounds, striving, stretches, dreary, ever widening, father, country, how she lingered on each sound to use duration. And I request Shubhangi, what did you think of how she used duration?
Yes, Zenia used durations beautifully, and another important thing is when you are reading out from a passage, the punctuation marks, they indicate where to actually give the pause, and once you understand what the passage or the poem is trying to deliver, to enhance the impact, as ma'am rightly said, to enhance the impact, you need to stress on some words and move on quickly to others. the words which are adjectives, adjectives followed by the noun, you have to quickly move on in those words. If they are isolated, like here, there are certain words like where knowledge is free, the world has not been broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls. So, you stopping at narrow after narrow will actually break the meaning. So, narrow domestic walls, these three words have to be quickly spoken. On the other hand, the word fragment, it's has to be lingered on. So, the adjectives instantly followed by the nouns, we have to move on quickly, which she did beautifully, and the words which need to be stressed on need to be lingered on. So, I think that's what exactly Xenia did.
Thanks. Now, how about trying it out yourself, reading out this passage aloud yourself and comparing it with Xenia's version, which we see as the model version? Why don't you try it yourself? Read it and record it, and then compare your version with Xenia's and try it out yourself once again using duration. Now, we move on to loudness or volume. Now, loudness or volume variety, we also use this in the session on voice and delivery, where we looked at how some people have a naturally loud voice and some people have a naturally soft voice, and those who have a very soft voice, who speak very softly, are usually taken to be non-assertive, whereas people who have a loud voice, they are assumed to be confident and dominating. So, the key is that you should be able to control the volume depending on what the situation is, the context is. Somewhere it's important that you use a loud voice. In another, it's important that you even lower your voice to a whisper. So, this modulation of voice, from raising it to a soft whisper to a shout, that's a trick. How do we use loudness and volume variety in delivery? We did some exercises for you, remember, when we talked about counting pennies and how do you count pennies to yourself, how you project your voice when you count them to somebody in the first row, then the second row, the third row, the fourth row, the fifth row, and Shubhangi did it using musical notes yesterday. She did beautifully. So, now when you use, remember that you can't do things in isolation. You can't say, okay, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to stop using right sounds. All the things that we have shared with you, you have to combine them. So, correct posture, correct breathing, using the right volume, they all come together. So, when you read this, you use diaphragmatic respiration to project volume. Remember, we said we speak with chest breathing. We need to speak with diaphragm breathing. So, once you read this, you will find that how diaphragm breathing, just watch me, I have a very bad posture, and when I lean forward, my sound is not clear. The moment I state and I use my diaphragm, do you notice the difference in the quality of my voice? Because I am doing diaphragm breathing, and immediately my voice quality changes because my head, my chin is not leaning forward. Now, let's listen to this speech, and you read the speech by the former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi at the Golden Jubilee celebrations of the Indraprastha College for Women, New Delhi in November 1974, and interpret what words should be spoken loudly and which ones softly. The passage is what education women can do.
What educated women can do. And Sanskrit saying says, woman is the home and home is the basis of society. It is as we build our homes that we can build our country. If the home is inadequate, either inadequate in material goods and necessities, or inadequate in the sort of friendly, loving atmosphere that every child needs to grow up and develop, then that country cannot have harm only, and no country which does not have harmony can grow in any direction at all. That is why women's education is almost more important than the education of boys and men. We, and by we, I do not mean only we in India, but all over the world, have neglected women education. It is fairly recent, of course not to you, but when I was a child, the story of early days of women's education in England, for instance, was very current. Everybody remembered what had happened in the early days. I remember what used to happen here. I still remember the days when living in Old Delhi, even as a child of 7 or 8, I had to go out in a dolly if I left the house. We just did not walk. Girls did not walk in the streets. First, you had your sari with which you covered your head. Then, you had another shawl or something with which you covered your head and all the body. Then, you had a white shawl with which everything was covered again, although your face was open fortunately. Then you were in the dolly, which again was covered by another cloth. And this was in a family or community which did not observe parda of any kind at all. In fact, all our social functions always were mixed functions. But this was the atmosphere of the city and of the country. I am one of those who always believe that education needs a thorough overhauling. But at the same time, I think that everything in our education is not bad. That even the present education has produced very fine men and women, especially scientists and experts in different fields, who are in great demand all over the world, and even in the most affluent countries. Many of our young people leave us and go abroad because they get higher salaries, they get better conditions of work.
This was a wonderful example of how one could use volume to get the best message across. You notice that Xenia started on a fairly high note when she started. And when she came to the line, that's why women's education is almost more important than the education, her voice lowered. And when she comes to the words by we, her voice almost dropped to a whisper. When she changes and says, I am one of those who believe. So you find how her voice is continuously rising and falling. She doesn't speak on a level pitch, because if you speak on a level pitch, you come across as very monotonous. Your experience of listening to lectures, how often have you gone to sleep because someone was speaking at a level pitch? But you need to vary your volume. You need to vary your volume. Sometimes we use volume when we increase our voices when we want to emphasize the important part, and sometimes we lower our voices when we want to emphasize the more important part of the passage or whatever we want to see. Think of natural speech. In natural speech, when you are excited or when you have something important to say, you find that your voice rises, okay, and otherwise you speak on a low level tone. So it should be like that. It should not be a monotonous volume. It should not be the same volume. You should change the volume. And now we have expert advice from Shubhangi.
Thank you. As ma'am correctly said, that volume indicates the level of assertiveness. Also, to add to that, volume is a very good indicator of emotions. So in this this passage was fairly full of emotional content, and we see that this is a passage where Indira Gandhi is going back to her childhood, and she is reciting the conditions that she had been in, or the general scenario of the country, where she is explaining the condition of women. So we can see going back and forth, coming again to the current scenario. So this emotional changes are very well explained by, again, pauses and volume. So wherever she is depicting the condition of women, where it was not very promoting, like there are sentences like, I still remember the days we're living in old Delhi, even as a small child. So
Yeah.
even as a small child, that she's going back to her past. So there the volume is lowered, and then when she is expressing that there is a need to exalt the condition of women, she is becoming louder. Like in the sentences like, girls did not walk in the streets. First you had a sari with which you covered your head, then you had another shawl or something. So gradually the volume is going up, because gradually the condition, she is explaining that how the condition of women is not improving at all, in fact deteriorating. In fact, they were, despite the parda system, they had to be under covers. So as she is moving on, increasingly the volume is also depicting the intensity of the emotion. So volume definitely indicates assertiveness, and a very, very good indicator of your emotion. The same sentence with the different levels of volume mean different things. Try it yourself. Say just one sentence in different volumes. Even a request can mean different things in different volumes. So if you say in the same tone, by the way, like, can I have a pen? Can I have a pen? So both the sentences were in the same tone, but just changing the volume changes the meaning. The second one is not only more assertive, but also indicates a more angry tone, or maybe the person is annoyed. So that's what I mean by changes in volume.
Try to get this one of the speeches online if you can, because Mrs. Gandhi's example is a classic illustration of how someone who is a very shy person, in fact when she was asked to speak, she said how is she going to address a crowd of thousands of people, and then people around her encouraged her to speak, and gradually she was able to sway thousands and lakhs of people by her speeches. So maybe if you can get hold of a real speech, some of us have lived long enough to have heard her speak, but those of you who haven't, maybe you can get one of her speeches online and try this out yourself. From volume we move on to pace. How fast do you speak or how slow do you speak? Remember in the first or the second lecture on voice and delivery, we spoke about pace, and I asked you to find out, do you speak very fast or do you speak very slow? Some of us speak very fast, some of us speak very slow. What's the correct rate? So they say that anything between 125 to 150 words a minute is acceptable. Lower than that, you sound very monotonous. If you try to squeeze in more words than 125 or 150, it comes across as unclear. So how do you use pace? Talk with time, not against it. If you are a high energy person, you probably will not be able to permanently slow down your rate of speech, but you can learn to vary your rate. See, you have to find your base. I remember I had this student in IIM, a very feisty, very effervescent kind of young woman who came across as a very high energy person. So when she came to do the interviews, I found she's not her real self, because she was trying to speak in a very calm, very measured, very slow manner. Now, she got the calm effect which she wanted to project. She came across as very calm and composed, but at the same time, her personality was lost. You know, that bubbly, effervescent person that she was, it didn't come across. So you find your base and see what you can do best with your base. Don't try to speak very fast if you speak naturally very slow. Don't try to speak very slow if you speak fast, but trying to find a kind of balance between the two. So people live according to patterns or rhythms, usually structured around a work week and a weekend. Think of language as also rhythmic. We think of dance, we think of music, we think of poetry as rhythmic, but we don't think of language as rhythmic. But language also has its rhythm. It contains regular beats and pauses. Your language rhythm is an expression of your life's rhythm. If you are a slow speaker, you can consciously vary your rate to increase speed. Your speaking rate is similar to your rate while reading out aloud. A slow speaker reads about 120 words per minute, while a fast speaker reads more than 190 words per minute. Now, let's read the following passage in your everyday speaking style. Don't attempt to read interpretatively or use vocal variety. A slash occurs at 50-word intervals. Use a stopwatch or a watch with the second hand to time yourself and determine your speaking rate. This is from the US President's message on education to the Congress on January 29, 1963. This is John F. Kennedy himself.
Education is the keystone in the area of freedom and progress. Nothing has contributed more to the enlargement of this nation's strength and opportunities than our traditional system of free, universal elementary and secondary education, coupled with widespread availability of college education. For the individual, the doors to the schoolhouse, to the library and to the college led to the richest treasures to our open society, to the power of knowledge, to the training and skills necessary for the productive employment, to the wisdom, the ideals and the culture which enrich life, and to the creative, self-disciplined understanding of the society needed for good citizenship in today's challenging and changing world. For the nation, increasing the quality and availability of education is vital to both our national security and our domestic well-being. A free nation can rise no higher than the standard of excellence set in its school and colleges. Ignorance and illiteracy, unskilled workers and school dropouts, these and other failures of our educational system breed failures in our social economic system. Delinquency, unemployment, chronic dependence, a waste of human resources, a loss of productive power and purchasing power, and an increase in tax-supported benefits. The loss of only 1 year's income due to unemployment is more than the total cost of 12 years of education through high school. Failure to improve education performance is thus not only poor social policy, it is poor economics. At the turn of the century, only 10% of our adults had a high school or college education. Today, such an education has become a requirement for an increasing number of jobs. Yet, 40% of our youths are dropping out before graduating from high school, and only 43% of our adults have completed high school. Only 8% of our adults have completed college, and only 16% of our young people are presently completing college. As a Science Advisory Committee has reported, one of our most serious manpower shortages is the lack of PhDs in engineering, science and mathematics. Only about 0.5% of our school-age generation is achieving PhD in all degrees. Thus, we see that it requires a scientific effort which demonstrates the superiority of freedom, and it requires an electorate in every state with sufficiently broad horizons and sufficient maturity of judgment to guide this nation safely through whatever lies ahead.
Now we'll show you some tricks. If you're a fast speaker, this was almost perfect incidentally. She managed 125 minutes. I was timing her and it was almost 125 words a minute. Now try this. Take a full 2 seconds to say each of the following words. Droopy, roar, lovely, glimmer, rustle, lonely, crash, grumble, snowflake, sluggish, stroll, fluffy, gloomy, luscious, merry, passion, hush, happy, sputter, murmur, stretch, moan, lover, delicious, grisly, rumble. Now come to, if you're a slow speaker, say each of the following words rapidly. Flick, clip, tip, snap, clip, net, flip, chip, snet, pip, flip, fib, flit, dip, glint, bit, snet, click. You could try this out, write a one-page composition describing your daily activity, then read it aloud. If you're a slow speaker, read it as rapidly as you can. If you're a fast speaker, lengthen the time you spend saying each word. Now we move to pause. Whether to pause or not. Hamlet's question, to be or not to be. To pause or not to pause. Some of us don't pause at all. And some of us pause for so long that people think, have we gone to sleep? Now, pause is a very effective substitute for non-words. Many of us, when we are stuck for words, we use non-words. And these non-words are very irritating for the person who's listening to you. You have to find out what is your non-word. High school girls, their favorite non-word is like. Every sentence they say, it's punctuated with like, you know what, like I was going, like, you know, he was so good. So it's, you know, like in somebody I know used what's its name. If you've read your Salman Rushdie, there's a character who uses the term what's its name as a non-word. In Hindi, it's kya naam lete hain. In Punjabi, it's ki na laida hai. And I have my favorite person, my uncle, used to punctuate every word with ki na laida hai. What do you say? So you have to find out your non-word. In Hindi, we use the word takya kalam to talk about non-words. But a substitute for non-words is whenever you find yourself using a non-word, stop. Instead of a non-word, use pause. We know of some leaders, some speakers, some very well-known orators. Think of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, how he used pause to an art. Now remember, you think when you pause, people are bored, or you feel nervous that people are not listening to you. No, you give the opposite impression. You give the impression that you're thinking, you're thoughtful, or you give the impression of giving emphasis to the part of information you're emphasizing. So read the following selection and pause at each dash. Then take a, we haven't marked the dashes for you, we'll mark it for you and send you the activity. Then take a selection from a book, magazine or newspaper and do the same.
Gone forever. Here I sit amongst the long grasses and the reed, in a solitary place where my breath is freed, on an Indian summer's evening on the lake bed. Autumn has come, yet the warmth has not fled. Blazing orange skies are mirrored to reflect. I cannot imagine a scene being any more perfect. As I looked up, an unfallen leaf caught my gaze. spotlighted in the sun's last golden rays. I noticed this crimson leaf as it began to wave, the end of a short life that I could not save, then swept away suddenly by the wind's rake, and ripples formed as it landed on the still lake. The leaf was carried away, and my eyes followed, then drowned by the water's surface and swallowed. Windy fingertips tugged it from the branch to server, existing once, like today, and then was gone forever.
This was brilliant because she combined volume along with pause. Now you see, one of the ways of using pause is the guide is punctuation. So we are trained to pause after, for a small time after a comma, a longer time after a full stop. But in addition to the punctuation which is marked in a written passage, we also need to mark out the breath pauses, because when we speak we need to take a breath, and when we if we don't take a breath pause, we get stuck. You know, our voice comes out because you're unable to breathe, which I tend to do because I get so excited and start talking so fast that I forget to pause for breath. So the voice is not clear. You need to use breath pauses. The way she used, first she uses paused after here I sit, and after and the read in a solitary place, where she was using punctuation. But when she said here I sit, there was no punctuation. She broke up the sentence into breath pauses. And as she went lower, look at the way she uses long pauses when she says, I could not save by the wind's rake as it landed on the lake. So by the time you came here, swallowed, she was using long pauses, and she was combining the long pauses along with volume to get the effect. I wondered if you could explain the notion of breath pause.
Yes, definitely. Well, as we speak, and we are breathing, we don't really are aware of the breathing. It happens, it occurs very spontaneously. But if you try to speak very fast, what happens is that the words which need to be emphasized, maybe we'll just rush through them because we did not breathe enough, because the voice comes right from the chest. It's the chest voice in which we talk. So the continuous flow of air is very necessary. The lungs get filled with air, and if you try to speak very fast, sometimes the lung at one point of time, the lung will need the air back, and maybe say for example, if I talk continuously and do not stop for any kind of breath as I'm doing now, see, I have to breathe, I have to just stop for a breath, because I was not normally breathing. I was just I used one stretch, I used one puff of air that was there in my lung to continuously speak. So it not only hinders in understanding the meaning of whatever is being said, whatever I want to deliver, it also creates difficulty in producing the correct volume, producing the correct pause, both. So we need to stop for breath pauses in order to speak effectively and to deliver the meaning properly.
Now we come to inflection. Inflections comprise another important characteristic of speaking. An inflection is a raised pitch, a high note used to add emphasis to a word. A change in inflection may often change the meaning or implication of a sentence, as illustrated in the following example.
I was born in India.
So this means
I was born in India. I was born in India. I was born in India. I was born in India.
how do we choose? How do we use pitch?
Here we are using, emphasizing the different words. Inflection, basically, as ma'am said, that inflection is a change in the characteristic of the speaking. Suddenly change the tone, the pitch. So, as you speak with a raised pitch and emphasize a particular word, the entire meaning of the sentence changes. The basic meaning remaining the same, the emphasis changes. So, here like I was born in India, I, not you. So, I was born in India. How dare you say that? I wasn't, I was, I definitely was born in India. So, this I definitely was, this definitely is missing in the sentence, but emphasizing or a raised pitch on was is indicating that I definitely was born in India. Then I was born in India. So, I'm a native.
Can you illustrate that using a nonsense syllables? How we use pitch? Nonsense syllable, like in music, how would you raise your pitch?
Okay, like in music also when we use pitch, in music it's a little different from speaking, because in music there are different tones. So when you raise the pitch, again especially in genres like opera, gradually we raise the pitch, and a higher pitch we go to a higher pitch only when we again want to emphasize, or the intensity of emotion is very high. So if you raise the pitch, like say for example, the pitch actually indicates a lot of emotion, like the songs, the music which have a bassy note, like ah, ah, we say that this is very dark kind of a music. But as you go higher, like ah, 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 maybe you want to express something very, very deep, or higher pitch can also express something dark. It's not that only it expresses something with, but whatever it is, it will be very intense if the pitch is very high. And generally female voices have high pitch, so songs or music with that kind of quality are generally sung by females. So you might have seen in, say for example, the patriotic songs. Towards the end of the song, we go to a very high pitch,
note.
Yes. Like if you have heard this particular song from the movie Roja, there's Bharat Humko Jaan Se Pyara Hai. It starts with a very low Bharat Humko Jaan Se Pyara Hai. So very soft, but then it raises to the higher pitch. Kashmir se Gujarat tak, so very, very high pitch, it goes to very high pitch. So it indicates the kind of vigor or energy.
Thanks. So we conclude with inflection. We talked about paralanguage, where you can use only sounds to express your what you want to say. You don't even need to use words. Without the use of words, you can use certain sounds to convey your attitude, to how you feel. And we'll conclude this with practicing some of these non-words to express certain emotions using, or certain attitude using intonation.
Oh, ah, oops, shh, oh, ha, oh,
Shubhangi, how about you doing it differently?
Maybe I can try.
Yeah.
Each of the words, nowadays it's very much used in conversations, because now we are gradually moving to texting, and we use these things while we are chatting on either Facebook or WhatsApp or other messenger, whatever. So expressing yourself becomes very difficult when you're not face to face. So these words, come to a rescue, because while reading, you read like uh-oh. So there's a tone, okay, there's a tone to it, uh-oh, something wrong has happened, uh-oh, then aha, okay. So appreciating something, then thinking something, so it's like okay, thoughtful something, like HMMM hum, it's like the last one. So that's so common in while texting. Then
Could you do it?
Yeah, it also indicates something, either something fishy is going on, or maybe, okay, great. So the lot of paralanguage is something, para means beyond, so it goes beyond language. Even without using language, you are actually expressing a lot. So then we come to oops, then shh, okay, it's like I'm listening, yeah, continue. Then humph, it's like an irritable sound. Then ha, really, okay. Then we ha. Then whew, okay, it's appreciating, it's surprising, great. Then phew, thank God the exam is over. So this phew will add a lot of emphasis to that. Then is the most, I think, the most common paralanguage that we use while talking.
Now why don't you try it out yourself using tone to express feeling. When we say we didn't like the tone of someone's voice, or we like the tone of someone's voice, you can do it on your own using these nonsense syllables. And if you're stuck, try listening to my favorite song, which uses this very well. Listen to Gurnal Ishq Mitha, Malkit Singh's, and try to do the different highs and see how one can use just the tone to indicate different meanings using nonsense syllables. You want to try it out? Hi.
Agure nale shuk mitha, ay hai. Agure nale shuk mitha, ay hai. Something like that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.